there are legendary cars, and then there is the Mercedes-Benz W124, the car that today is known around the world as the last true Mercedes, a machine built by brilliant engineers, not accountants and marketers. Today, this car is an absolute phenomenon. It racks up millions of miles as an immortal taxi in the scorching deserts of Africa, while simultaneously remaining a highly sought-after classic on the pristine streets of European capitals. But to understand its true greatness, we need to travel back in time. November 1984. Mercedes-Benz faces perhaps the toughest challenge in its history. Their previous sedan, the legendary W123, had sold over 2.5 million units. It was as reliable as a Swiss watch and held the reputation of the perfect car. How do you top absolute perfection? How do you avoid disappointing millions of fans? Any other manufacturer would have taken the safe route and just updated the design. But not Stuttgart. They decided to go all in. The Germans introduced an entirely new model that, compared to its competitors at the time, looked like a spaceship from the future. The 124 inherited its styling and revolutionary multi-link rear suspension from the compact Mercedes 190, but brought them into a much higher, far more prestigious class. Notice the design. Whether it was the cheapest base model or the top-tier version, the cars looked equally premium. Previously, you could tell an owner's status just by looking at the headlights. Now the W124 looked imposing in any trim. But the crowning achievement was aerodynamics. This massive, spacious sedan achieved a drag coefficient of just 0.29. To put into perspective how crazy that is, Mercedes literally snatched the aerodynamic crown from the innovative Audi 100, which had been flaunting its sleekness. Despite its massive appearance, the use of high-strength steel made the car significantly lighter. The base model weighed just 1,260 kilograms. At the same time, passive safety reached a cosmic level. Crumple zones, an ultra-rigid cabin capsule, and, get this, pedestrian safety. In 1984, the hood and front end were designed to minimize impact injuries. This car easily passed strict American crash tests without needing those hideous protruding bumpers that competitors were forced to use to ruin their designs. And then there was the signature quirk, the eccentric monowiper. Thanks to a complex trajectory, this single massive wiper cleared 86% of the windshield instead of the standard 78%. It was a piece of engineering art that didn't give up even during heavy downpours at German Autobahn speeds. And the washer nozzles? They were already heated. But the W124 wasn't just about global innovations. It was full of brilliant little details that modern YouTube audiences love to obsess over. Think about the legendary ribbed taillights, designed so that even in the filthiest weather, they remained partially clean and visible. Or the complex vacuum system that controlled the central locking and folding rear headrests, making that iconic ps sound when you close the doors. Add to that the immortal MB-Tex interior material, which even after 30 years of harsh use, looks like the car just rolled out of the showroom. Mercedes retired a generation of engines that had been in production for almost 3 decades. The new modular engine family was lighter, more powerful, and 15 to 25% more fuel efficient. Even the weakest carbureted version could hit almost 190 kilometers per hour. When meticulous European and British journalists took the car for its first tests in 1985, they were blown away. The ergonomics were so good that a driver of the previous generation could sit down and drive it blindfolded. The car was rock solid on the straights, incredibly quiet, and allowed for easy slide control thanks to that advanced multi-link suspension. Naturally, it was immediately thrown into battle against its main rivals. The advanced front-wheel drive Audi 100, the classic BMW 5 Series, the Opel Senator, and the Renault 25, The W124 lost out slightly to the French and the Audi in rear headroom, the price paid for that aerodynamic roofline. But it destroyed everyone in build quality, attention to detail, and handling balance. The BMWs of that era demanded constant driver concentration and easily snapped into oversteer on wet roads. The Audi suffered from a massive turning radius, but the Mercedes was simply the perfect, reliable companion. To understand its global status, you have to know one crucial detail of German culture. The 300 badge had sacred meaning. Its post-war predecessor, the 300 Mercedes, became a symbol of West Germany's economic miracle and was unofficially called the Adenauer, after the first chancellor. It was a car for leaders, so when Mercedes released the 300e with a potent 190 horsepower inline-six, it didn't just challenge its own class. It took on cars in the higher luxury division. British magazine Autocar compared it to the flagship BMW 7 Series and Jaguar. Thanks to its aerodynamics, the W124 was 30 kilometers per hour faster and significantly more efficient than the Bavarian flagship, topping out at 232 kilometers per hour. The British summed up their test simply: it is in a class of its own. This car pulled off a miracle. Despite its premium price tag, it entered the top 5 best-selling cars in Germany, competing in volume with the mass-market, budget-friendly Volkswagen Golf. But if the 300e just impressed with its dynamics, what happened in 1986 shocked the entire world. Even before their official merger with Mercedes, the mad geniuses at AMG took this conservative sedan, crammed a massive 6-liter V8 under the hood, and created the AMG Hammer. It was a family sedan that could hit 300 kilometers per hour. On the straights, it literally humiliated contemporary supercars like the Lamborghini Countach and Ferrari Testarossa. For petrolheads in the US and the UK, the W124 Forever became an icon specifically because of this black hammer. But Stuttgart wasn't satisfied with dominating only on perfect autobahns. They wanted absolute control in all conditions, territory where Audi was aggressively expanding. Meanwhile, in the mid-80s, the world was swept by an all-wheel drive craze. Mercedes management resisted for a long time, considering all-wheel drive a crutch for weak front-wheel drive chassis. But the market dictated its terms. The customer is always right, even if they live where it snows once a year. And in 1985, Mercedes introduced 4MATIC. This wasn't just another 4x4 system. It was the most complex and advanced system on the market at the time. It automatically engaged the front axle and locked the differentials depending on the situation, working in perfect synergy with the ABS. It cost a fortune, a quarter of the price of the car itself, but it provided absolute benchmark handling and safety on ice and snow. But was the W124 flawless from day one? No. And this is perhaps the most dramatic moment of our story. Imagine the shock and fury of wealthy clients who paid top dollar for premium luxury, only to receive a car that squeaked over every pothole. Early buyers faced a whole bouquet of teething problems. Seats squeaked, windshields cracked for no reason, hydraulic lifters rattled, and the brake rotors on the powerful models vibrated and wore out extremely fast. People were even recording these issues on their home video cameras and causing massive scenes at the dealerships. The company had clearly rushed the launch. However, the Germans acted with lightning speed. They admitted their mistakes and made hundreds of design changes during warranty services. It was this harsh lesson that turned the later W124s into the immortal legends, capable of surviving million-mile journeys. Mercedes couldn't stop at just the sedan. In 1985, the estate version, the S124, was released. Fun fact: while estates used to be bought by painters and farmers, marketers noticed a shift in the 80s. A quarter of the buyers were top managers and highly educated professionals. It became the vehicle for a wealthy, active lifestyle, driving to the Alps to ski or bringing firewood to your country house. The trunk could swallow items almost 3 meters long, and the tailgate had a soft, close mechanism, an unheard-of luxury for wagons back then. And in the spring of 1987, a true masterpiece by genius designer Bruno Sacco debuted the C124 Coupe. This wasn't just a sedan missing two doors. It was a standalone, sleek silhouette with a lowered roofline. No central pillars, fully rolling down windows, and special seatbelt presenters, so you wouldn't have to reach back. Pure elegance that instantly rejuvenated the brand's audience. By the way, which 124 body style do you personally think is the best looking? The strict sedan, the practical estate, or the sleek coupe? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Let's see which one wins. The Mercedes-Benz W124 became much more than just a means of transportation. It set the standards for quality, safety, and engineering that the auto industry tried to live up to for decades to come. Ahead of it lay the release of a stunning convertible, the legendary Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, the 500e developed jointly with Porsche, and a furious global market battle with the new BMW E34. But the most fascinating thing is how this car demonstrated the starkest cultural dissonance in automotive history after the fall of the Iron Curtain. On one end of Europe, it's an immortal cream-colored taxi in Berlin and the respectable ride of a Swiss banker. And on the other, it's the favorite black getaway car for Eastern European mobsters in the 90s, and a cult action hero in French cinema, like in the movie Taxi, where a gang robbed banks in 500Es. But that's a completely different story. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode of our Automotive Chronicles.